In this episode, I am going to discuss the Holocaust. My focus while exploring the Holocaust with you will be the role of anti-Semitism in Germany, Kristallnacht, the establishment of the ghettos, and the final solution. I do want to spend a moment and express a concern with what we'll be discussing today. History involves real people. Too easily, an academic discussion can put aside the human face, which is important to remember when exploring this too-human catastrophe. 6 million Jews and millions of others were the victims of Nazi racist ideology. That is 6 million people with families, friends, and dreams. The seeds of what would become known as the Holocaust may begin a century before in the Middle Ages, both the Crusades and during the Black Death in Germany and other parts of Europe showed examples of anti-Semitic attacks against Jews. But really, when we're exploring the Holocaust, we need to begin with the individual Adolf Hitler. By the time Hitler became Chancellor of Germany in 1933, his racist ideology had been cemented. Doris Bergen, professor of Holocaust studies at the University of Toronto, described it this way. So for Hitler, I think, one of the crucial things to understand is that he did have an ideology. By the time he became Chancellor in 1933, they were quite firm. The way to remember that is to think of these two terms, race and space. It's two interconnected pillars of Hitler's worldview. The idea of race was the notion that humanity was divided into discrete groups, separate groups, and that they were locked in a struggle with one another. It's a very social Darwinian view. The idea that you don't have this one group of human beings, but rather the separate and competing groups. Supposedly, they were competing for space, land. Why do you need land? Because you got to grow food. Why do you need food? To have more children. Why do you need more children? So you can conquer your neighbors. So this idea of race and racial superiority is automatically linked to the notion of space, land, and conquest. Hitler would tap into the anti-Semitic sentiments that developed after World War I, during the Weimar Republic, from 1918 all the way to 1933. In September of 1933, Germany imposed what would become known as the Nuremberg Laws on German Jews. With this, Nazi anti-Semitism became the official policy of the German government. As we've explored in class, these laws stripped Jews of their German citizenship, expelled German Jews from the government and university positions, imposed a curfew on Jews, forbade their access to public places, restricted them from accessing German education and German businesses, and attacked their ability to practice their faith. Things would change, though, in November of 1938, some 5 years later. The Nazis would use the assassination of Ernst vom Roth by Herschel Grispan in November 9th of 1938 for justification for a pogrom, an organized massacre against the Jews in Germany and in Austria. Nazi propaganda spun the assassination as proof of an international Jewish conspiracy against Germany, a lie that doesn't stand up to any historical evidence. Beginning on the night of November 9th and continuing into the early morning of November 10th, Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass, targeted Jewish synagogues, big businesses, and German and Austrian Jews themselves. An excerpt from Measures Against Jews Tonight detailed the directive given by both the leader of the SS and the chief of German police. Only such measures may be taken which do not jeopardize German life or property. For instance, burning synagogues only if there is no dangers of fires for the neighborhood. Business establishments and homes of Jews may be destroyed, but not looted. The police have been instructed to supervise the execution of these directives and to arrest looters. In business streets, special case is to be taken that non-Jewish establishments will be safeguarded at all costs against damage. Subjects of foreign countries may not be molested, even if they are Jews. As the result of the pogrom, more than 100 Jews were murdered. More than 200 synagogues were destroyed. More than 7,000 Jewish businesses were destroyed, and more than 30,000 Jewish men were taken to concentration camps. A little bit more than a year later, Nazi Germany would invade Poland. Hitler gave the order on August 31st, but it would be a day until the German armed forces, or Wehrmacht, would proceed with the invasion. It is important to note that Poland had the second largest population of Jews in the world, with 3 million. After the war, less than 10,000 Jews would still live in Poland. Martin Gerber, in his book, The Holocaust, A History of the Jews in Europe During the Second World War, described how Reinhard Heydrich, the chief of the Reich Central Security Office, announced at a conference of SS commanders on the 21st of September 1939 that Jews were to be concentrated in big cities near railroad lines, where they could be forced into designated areas, which later would become known as ghettos. Jewish populations in villages and small towns were being emptied and sent to be imprisoned in these places. The first ghetto was established in October of 1939. The Germans established more than 1,000 ghettos in Poland and Eastern Europe. Countless Jews would experience malnutrition, disease, brutality, and death in these places. As we learned in class, the ghettos were an interim measure as the Germans moved to the final solution to the Jewish question. The final solution to the Jewish question, quote, end quote, after the Holocaust and World War II, a new word was to invent to describe it: genocide, the murder of an entire people. I've seen the term extermination when describing what the Jews suffered, but I think that word is dehumanizing, and so I'll use the term murder. The final solution was the culmination of Hitler's racist ideology. Frieda Weinman, a Holocaust survivor, described her experiences at Auschwitz-Birkenau death camp. My entire family was deported to Auschwitz-Birkenau, where we arrived on the 2nd of June, 1944. As soon as we arrived, a doctor stood on the ramp and assessed us all to decide who would be sent straight to the gas chambers and who would work for a little longer before being killed. A prisoner came up to us all and started whispering that the older woman should take the babies. She told my mother to take the baby of a lady standing next to her, a stranger. She did. She sent to one side with my brother, Marcel. The baby's mother and I were sent to the other. We were told that my mother would be looking after the children and not to worry. It was a lie. My mother and brother were taken to the gas chamber. My mother carried the stranger's baby with her. I was disinfected, tattooed, and sent to work. At first, I was digging trenches before being selected to work in the Canada Commando, the work unit that was responsible for sorting through the belongings of the new arrivals. We worked in a large warehouse very close to the gas chambers. I was later sent to dig ditches outside the crematoria, where I witnessed bodies being burned, all while surviving off a daily diet of thin soup made from rotten vegetables and a crust of bread, if I was lucky. In total, the Germans would use 6 death camps to murder more than 2.7 million European Jews. While technology has gifted us with the ability to quickly pull up facts about a variety of historical events, there is history that does require investment and remembrance. The Holocaust and the experience of the 6 million Jewish victims is that history.